Yeah, you can say everybody's ready. Yes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here today for the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Policy Body meeting. It is Tuesday, April 9th, 2024 at 3 p.m. We do have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I told Chad, I think we're going to do something just a little bit different today because we do have some new faces, some new members and people representing. So we're going to go ahead and do introductions. So we'll go ahead and start in the room and then we'll ask the folks online. So Councilmember Johnston, if you'd like to go ahead and start and let us know who you are and who you're representing.
J.V. Johnston, Wichita.
David Dennis, County Commission, District 3.
Nick Engel, Derby City Council. Russ Kessler, Mayor of Hayesville, also Vice Chair of Transportation Policy Board and Chairman of the TAC.
Awesome.
Mike Warrington, City of Andover, City Council member.
Chad Barassa, WAMPO Secretary.
Becky Tuttle, Wichita City Council, representing District 2.
I'm Jim Benage, Mayor of Bel Air. I'm George Lee, Mayor of Goddard.
JB Wilson, representing KDOT.
Terry Summers, Mayor of Mount Hope, representing Central County Association of Cities, small cities.
Thank you. And for the folks online, I always know it's a little bit wonky, but just chime in and let us know who you are and who you're representing.
I'm Ron Colbert, Valley Center City Council.
Hey folks, I'm Ryan Beatty, Sedgwick County Commissioner, District 4.
Dan Wade, Jack Butler County Commissioner, District 5.
Allison Smith, KDOT Planning.
Did Bert go? Is that everyone? I think so. I think we got everyone. So welcome, everyone. Glad you're here. Welcome to our new members. The very best resource I can always point everyone out who's a new member is in the second to the last page of your packet. It's the acronym glossary, which you probably want to just, slip under your pillow and hope it absorbs into your head. But it's a great resource and super glad that the WAMPO staff does such a great job of keeping it updated. So with that, we'll go into our regular business for today. The first item is to approve the TPB agenda for April 9th, 2024. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to the agenda? I'd love to hear a reason why, but say nay. All those, so it passes unanimously. Thank you for getting my humor. I appreciate it. The next item is approval of the TPB minutes for March 12th, 2024. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I heard it was a fantastic meeting, one of the best run meetings ever. Thank you to Vice Chair Kessler for running the meeting in my absence. Truly appreciate it. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? I will be abstaining from this vote because I was not at the meeting, so I cannot approve the minutes. Anyone else need to abstain?
Yes.
So Sauceda, Dennis, and Johnston. Staff get that? Nick, did you get everyone?
And
Okay,
Glasscock, I'll abstain as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Glasscock, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, Dalton Glasscock. I am currently en route, and so I look forward to seeing you all very soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to it. Next on the agenda is the director's report. Chad, wow us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, members of the Transportation Policy Body. Today we have a few items to report to you, starting with quarterly Unified Planning Work Program. I'm learning to say the entire instead of the acronyms. Unified Planning Work Program documents the activities and programs that staff is dedicated to accomplish in that year. Our chair has recommended a format. You can see that from pages 10 to 11, how we are progressing and how we will progress in next quarters. So that's just a high level summary that's in there. And then we also have Peter presenting on upcoming requests for proposals and initiatives and studies and so on. And that also will tie back to that pages 10 to 11 as well. With that, if any clarifications or questions, happy to elaborate on that. Okay, hearing none, there is, next item is, we had a project selection committee meetings that is happening. It's always difficult for that committee to find projects when the funds are limited and the projects are many in the region. And Peter is here to update the meetings and schedule. Peter, thank you.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
So for our project selection committee meetings, we have just recently had our first meeting here back on the 7th, but I'll go over a quick overview of what we have. So the project selection committee is in the process of creating different programming or funding award recommendations for the upcoming TIP. In addition, they also are awarding some extra funding that has become or developing funding recommendations that have for the years 25 and 26 for extra funds that have become available for those years. In addition, they'll also work on different funding prioritization recommendations for the long-range transportation plan, our Metropolitan Transportation Plan 2050, which you can see here on the slide in front of you. As we were talking about before, for our combined call for projects between all the jurisdictions, we have 102 that will be considered for either funding award recommendations in the TIP or for funding prioritization in the long-range transportation plan. Before you have a map of all of those different projects. This is also available online. We have different maps that go by jurisdiction that are available, and also an interactive map where you can search and click on each project and see a few details on that project as you kind of search around. For our next steps, these projects, we have updated the travel demand model and put those in there so they can be reflected in the demand model for 2050. We're working with the consulting firm PC. They have scored the projects and ranked them based on our adopted evaluation criteria back from 2021. KDOT has reviewed the projects that we're considering for TIP awards in the next few years. And we've had our first meeting with the PSC on April 4th, past Thursday. And we are, after that, once we develop our different PSC recommendations, we will take them to TAC for funding, to vote on recommendation or to recommend the PSC's funding award recommendations for eventual TPP approval. Any questions for me on that? I was tripping over my words.
It's been that day. I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. So this is our plan between now and 2050, correct? So 25 years, and there's 102 projects included in it. Is that correct?
Altogether, yes.
I think that's a great story that we could be telling. I know we're trying to do more robust initiatives with our social media, but I don't think people always understand how long these projects take, but also the scope of work that WAMPO is really doing to make sure that our projects are emphasis on regionally significant. So just good on staff for, taking on such significant projects that will be felt for generations to come.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Peter. Just want to add one more comment for the benefit of new members. Most of the members already knew this, but I would like to request your seeing the page 13 on the packet. For the new members, especially of this board, you can see the TIP funding, Transportation Improvement Program. The TIP is a 4-year document of committed projects. Current TIP is 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. And now it's the time to update for the next couple of years. So that's why you will see 2027 and 2028 on page 13, first table. And it has a funding around 14.789 million each year in 2027 and 2028. And some of the projects that are listed in page 15 are considered to be allocated for those 2 years. Every 2 years, we update for the next 2 years. So just want to update for those who are new members that this constitutes a committed document of short-range transportation planning. And then we also have a long-range transportation planning that projects get lined up for these TIP as well. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Peter? Excellent. Yep, keep on going.
Awesome. We have next to report, item to report for you is Safe Streets and Roads for All, SS4A grant updates. Kim Newfield, our staff is, she just right on taking this task. We are very excited that Kim joined just a few weeks ago, but dived into this grants and tasks related to grants.
Welcome to WAMPO, Kim.
Yes, thank you so much. And good afternoon to everyone. It's beautiful out, so we appreciate you being inside doing all this important work. It doesn't want to show my slide.
It does not.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so we have 2 grant updates to provide. The demonstration grant, which was awarded in December of 2023, is mostly demonstration projects, and there's several of the jurisdictions in here that were awarded that funding. So we are still working closely with the Federal Highway Administration to make sure that the eligibility requirements are very clear for those projects. And we are working now directly with the jurisdictions to get those projects submitted so that we can get those approved to move forward. So if you're one of those jurisdictions, we have reached out via email, let you know the award amount, and yeah, are looking for those projects to come in. Let me know if you have any questions on those. Also, then we are working on the SS4A implementation grant. This is coming up due very quickly, May 16th. So if you have any ideas for improvement projects that you would like to do, especially in high crash areas or that have a safety focus, please let me know and I can get you any information or help you with some projects for that. Any questions on those 2 grants? Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's a short time.
Thanks, Kim. We have next item, Peter presenting on request for proposals. These are new initiatives that, as our chair mentioned, all these contribute to regional significance and new initiatives. And we thank you for your leadership. Staff is very supportive of all these funding TIP projects. MTP reflects WAMPO board and your leadership as well. So with that, Peter, you have RFPs. Thank you, Peter.
Yes, we have several initiatives out, so I'm going to give a brief overview of several of them. Over the coming months, these will probably be turning into update and discussion items, but we thought it was a good idea to give a brief summary in one spot so you kind of know everything that's going on in the background here. So first we have our intelligent transportation systems, our ITS architecture update. We are in the works of developing an RFP for a consultant to help with that for the region and hopefully develop a strategic plan for ITS deployments across the WAMPO area. Next, our travel demand update phase 2. So we are finishing up our phase 1 of the travel demand model where they update it for along with our long range plan. We've been updating our TDM, but we would like to secure some expert technical support from our consultant to keep the model up to date, ad hoc training staff, and provide on-call technical support, and also update the model as time and population and employment changes to keep it quite accurate and useful for us.
Isn't this the one, Peter, that was pretty out of date? Is that correct? It hadn't been updated in a
Ah.
bit?
The ITS architecture was last updated in 2006.
Yeah. It's about time.
It is time. And then our safe routes to school, our SRTS planning assistance. We are seeking consultant to assist in the development of SRTS plans for all schools and school districts in the region. And then as Kim was just expounding upon, our Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A implementation grant application for 2025. Because the grants are so competitive, we're going to issue an RFP to help us really tighten up and put together a very sound application for the WAMPO region. And then two RFPs that are under evaluation, and one, the first one here is wrapping up. Our financial and single audit services. We issued an RFP for a consultant to assist WAMPO with the completion of its annual single audit. That has now since been completed, and we'll actually be addressing that topic here shortly. And then our automatic bicycle pedestrian counters, that request for proposals has closed, and we are currently looking at developing a contract for review.
Excellent. Great. Any questions for Peter? All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Peter. The next item is active transportation, a grant opportunity. Kim is an expert already at grants, so.
So this is a brand new grant opportunity at the federal level we're really excited about. And again, it has two opportunities. You can apply for demonstration and planning funding or for construction improvement projects. So they're accepting both of those type of applications. Really, the focus is to create plans or implement active transportation networks within or between our communities. So that's kind of exciting. The other option is also to look at plans or implement active transportation spine connecting two or more communities. So that would be really exciting. I know there's been a lot of discussion about connecting the different communities throughout our region. So very excited. There is the required 20% local match. It can be funding or it can be in kind, for example, land that these improvements might go on. And this one is also another quick turnaround, June 17th. So staff are reviewing this opportunity to look and see if it's the right fit for WAMPO.
Thanks so much, Kim. Appreciate your help in the grants and tasks. Next item we have is K96 corridor. You may have already heard about this and know about this. This Thursday evening, 5 to 7 p.m. We have a public meeting. You can see this flyer on page 23. Most of you already know, just to see what's going on with the project and what's the status and so on. And the next couple of items is Peter has an update on, next amendment. TIP gets amendments at least 4 times a year. So it's routine amendments that when projects have some changes that Peter is updating. So those 2 items. Thank you, Peter.
Yes, I believe Chad said it all there. We've opened our call for changes for amendment number 8. It's, as he said, a regular amendment that we have for the TIP. And then I'd like to give you guys an update on the population projections.
Yes.
So we've been working closely with the Center for Economic Development and Business Research over at WSU. And after we gained some feedback on our previous methodologies for producing these different projections, we've been working closely with CEDBR, or the Center for Economic Business Development and Research. And we're going to be developing a new methodology and presenting that to you over the next coming months. Our next update, we have them scheduled for TAC on April 22nd. And then in May, we'll also have an update on that methodology in a different way of developing these projections. Any questions for me?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. When this first was presented to us a couple of months ago, I think it was back in February. And I know we had lots of robust discussion because it was just however a community, a municipality decided that they felt they would grow and by how much. And so I really appreciate everyone's input. We had some thoughtful discussions with staff, and I'm glad to see this path because you mentioned now there's going to be a clear methodology so that we can get, numbers a little bit closer. I mean, it's still obviously projection, but at least there's going to be some sort of rhyme or reason to the process, correct? Yeah.
Correct. We hope to develop a consistent methodology and then do that in partnership with our committees in different communities and try to get something that's very sensible and useful for our region.
And I'm just really glad when we have discussions in this within the TPB, right? Instead of just kind of rubber stamping it, somebody asked a really thoughtful question that sparked lots of conversation, and now we're going to go in a much better direction. So thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I have one comment or a question. Will we be able to see the methodology that you're going to put together? So each city can say that they agree with it or not?
Yes, we will have, in our current plan, we want the Center of Economic Development and Business Research to develop that methodology. And they are going to present that first before they come back with projections. And then hopefully garner some feedback and see how we should best approach that.
Council member, just to add to Peter, Peter and staff had discussed with WSU Center for Economic Development and Business Research to have 2 meetings with TAC, Technical Advisory Committee, and 2 meetings with TPB before it's all finalized. So there will be ample opportunities for, both educational as well as feedback both ways. So Peter and I have discussed with Jeremy Hill on that, and Jeremy Hill will come and take the lead. Am I correct, Peter? Anything else I'm missing?
That's correct.
All right.
With that, Madam Chair, thank you.
No, thank you. Great director's report. Appreciate it. Thank you, Peter. Thank you to Kim for all your great updates. Next, we have consent agenda. Marky Jonas.
Hi, I'm Marky Jonas, Administrative and Public Outreach Coordinator. The only item on the consent agenda today is the contract for legal services with Hinkle Law Firm. And there's not a whole lot of details for it, other than it is going to last a duration of 3 years, having been effective starting in December of 2023. And it is not to exceed $4,999. Does anyone have any questions?
So Marky, between now and November 30th of 2026, it's about $5,000 or right under $5,000 is the max.
Correct.
Okay. Hopefully we won't need any more than that, right? That's the goal. Any other questions for Marky?
Madam-
Yes,
I
yes.
make a motion to approve the contract for legal services with Hinkle Law Firm LLC as
Okay.
presented.
Thank you so much. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Oh, Councilmember Holeza, we gotcha. All right, the item does pass unanimously. Next, we have public comments. If there's anyone here who would like to make comments for us, you have up to 3 minutes per individual. Come on, Ellen. Not this time. Okay, we don't have anyone for public comment this time, but we'll look forward to Alan in May. Next, we go into the actionable items. The first on the agenda is your 2023 audit report, and we have Michael Gerber with Forbes. Michael, thank you for joining us today. I see you've given us some healthy reading material that we can all enjoy over the next few days, so we'd love to hear your presentation as well.
That's about right. Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, my name is Michael Gerber. I am audit partner at Forbes. I've been with the firm for about 18 years now. I lead our nonprofit governmental niche, so I'm happy to be here today to go over the results of that audit. I think this is our 3rd year of doing this presentation, and I believe everybody should have a final copy of that report that we passed out, both the audit and the management letter. The draft form was provided to you online. If you happen to have a chance to look at that prior to this meeting, this is exactly the same. We just went ahead and issued finals because they were ready. I always like to start with thanking your finance team. I know you have a new individual here, Kyle. He did a great job getting us what we need to do our job. We actually did the audits in late January. So if you think about your year end into December, the fact that Kyle was able to get all that information to us within a month's time speaks volumes to his capacity, and we really appreciate his help, and Chad, of course, helping us through the process as well. So thank you for that. I'm just going to go through a few highlights. If you have the report in front of you, page 1, just past the table of contents, is our independent auditors reports. I like to say this is the most important part of the report because this is where we say you have a clean opinion, but the rest of it's pretty important too. So we'll go over a few of the items here. Just past the independent auditors report is the management discussion and analysis. That's pages 4 through 6. That's, if you only read one thing, that's probably the best place to look. That just gives you a little bit of a high level, hey, what changed year over year? So again, if you just want to slim it down to 3 pages, that's where you want to look. There is that management discussion analysis part. The pages that I'm going to go over just real quick, if we're going to flip over to page 11, if you're following along, certainly no reason to follow along. I'm just going to talk about it here. But if you want to look at the numbers, page 11 has your activity for the year. So your revenues, your expenses, the bottom line, your income statement, basically, if you're more for-profit minded. So we don't have comparative information, but I can tell you revenues increased about $700,000 year over year. A lot of that was due to more federal funding that you received here in 23 that wasn't available in 22. I think just based on some of the discussions, sounds like maybe you might be getting some more federal funding here. So that's always nice to get that more revenues to fund some of these projects. But as you might imagine, if you're getting more revenue, that means you're funding projects as well. So your expenses are up. They more than doubled from the prior year, just again, because you do have some of those projects. Certainly within expectations, within budget, but just want to kind of draw your attention because that's where the activity is for the year there on page 11. The other schedule I want to go over real quick is on page 16. Excuse me, that's the wrong page there. Let me get back to the right page. It's going to be on page 19 is what we're looking for here. I apologize. Page 19 is a detail of the actual federal funds that you did receive here for the current year. And as you might imagine, if you receive federal funding, the government wants to make sure that you spend that in the right area. So there's a compliance audit that we take part in to make sure you're kicking the tires on these funds and making sure that they're going to the right areas. And so we did test both of these funds here. The balance of this report would be if we had any findings or issues. The good news is it's a clean report. So a number of pages back there, but no real reason to look through it except just make sure that everything looks good. So certainly happy to report that you did have no findings with regards to that federal audit. The other report that I have on hand here is the stapled document. This is the management letter. This is a bunch of required communication with management. A lot of the items as you flip through here is you're going to see no matters reportable. Certainly good to see that. If we had any big significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, so we always kick the tires on your accounting processes, inflows, outflows, things like that. You do have a small team, a team of 1 and a few others to help out. So it's hard to completely separate all those duties, but you do have other review processes in place to where we don't have any written deficiencies or anything like that. So certainly good news there. We can't outright say that there are no deficiencies, but based on our testing, we didn't find any. So that's certainly good news. We did have a few minor entries, some of them that we didn't even post. So you'll see some narrative about that within the report, but nothing that rises to the level of a concern or anything like that. So those are the 2 items that I wanted to mention on the management letter. But other than that, that covers my prepared comments. If there's any questions, I might pause and I guess let you do your motions as well if you need to.
Any questions for Michael? I'd just like to make a comment. The fact that we don't have any findings again, I think, is this the 3rd year in a row without any findings?
Second year with federal funding, so 2 years in a row with no findings with regard to federal funding.
That's
Yep,
fantastic.
exactly right.
We were in an en banc with the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County, and Commissioner Dennis made some great comments about it's been wonderful to see WAMPO having no findings at the federal level, at the state level, in our financial audit. So congratulations to team, but also to this body, and a special thanks to the executive committee who's all working, I think, really well together to make sure that we continue to have clean audits in all aspects of the work that we do. Commissioner Dennis, would you like to add anything to that? You were a fantastic chair for 2 years and really spearheaded the process and the progress that we've been making. Battery's dead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. And this is a testament to a lot of hard work for a lot of people. It wasn't too many years ago when we did have some issues, and we've worked through all of those issues thanks to the staff and especially the leadership of Chad coming on board has made a great difference, and the staff that he's put together. But as the chair said, a lot of it goes back to the leadership with the executive committee on looking at ways that we can do better in the future, and we have done better. So four of us, I want to thank you very much for the audit. It hasn't always been clean, so you all are seeing something that is really a great testament to the hard work of a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you for your great comments. Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. Thank you. To receive and file, right? Correct? Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please enthusiastically say hi.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The item passes unanimously. Thank you very much for being here. We'll see you next year. Next is item B, the federal fiscal year 2023 through federal fiscal year 2026 Transportation Improvement Program Amendment 7. Peter is back to wow us again.
Thank you, Chair. So our Amendment 7, our schedule, we had our public comment period from March 8th to the 22nd. No comments received there. Had our TAC recommendation on the 25th of March, and we are here today to consider it for TPB approval. You can check out the full details of the amendment as a link in your packet or at the link at the bottom of the PowerPoint there. It's on our website on our tip page, and we'll go through what is entailed. So there is a total of 9 projects. Total of 9 projects. Sorry. To go back.
It's on page 27 of the packets.
There we go. Okay. Technical difficulty.
I counted 10.
Counted 10. There's 10 projects total. One has administrative adjustments that doesn't require formal TAC or TPP approval, just minor changes. There are 9 projects otherwise in the TIP, 5 requests for new projects, and 4 projects to be modified in the TIP. On the map here, we have 4 different projects there. We have the B2401. It's several new bridges or a new project for maintenance on those bridges around the US 54 and Eisenhower Airport Parkway interchange. We have a new intersection project along K15 at 71st, 4th and MacArthur, and sponsored by KDOT near the city of Derby. And we have the Butler project on the map there, the Southwest Prairie Creek Road Bridge over 8 Mile Creek. And we have those projects here listed as well, along with the ones that aren't mappable. So we have several Wichita transit projects, and by projects, other capital and grants and programs such as the Wichita Transit FTA 5339 program, grants for buses and bus facilities, the FTA 5310 program for enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities, general transit operating added to the tip there as well. We also have KDOT's WAMPO, the supplemental planning and demonstration activities. That is the 15% matching KDOT fund for the demonstration grant for the SS4A grant program. And then the other projects that were mentioned on the map there as well. And here's a more detailed chart. You can see this on page 29 and 30 in your packet. Typically, I got it listed on the bottom of the slide, but that's 29 and 30 in the packet. We also have a detailed list of the local, state, and federal funding changes That's also available there in the packet. Typically, after this slide, I would have one that described changes to WAMPO's federal suballocated funding program, but for this particular amendment, there are no changes. And then to just go over, Amendment 7 does meet requirements. We have completed our public comment and review period. It's consistent with the current MTP, Reimagine Move 2040. It is fiscally constrained and adds $70.9 million in total. Which brings us to our action item. Our TIP Amendment 7 action items are to approve the TIP Amendment number 7 as presented, not approve, or approve Amendment 7 with specific changes. The TAC recommendation was to approve Amendment 7 as presented.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. And quick comment for the benefit of new members. As you can see on page 27, this tip is related to fiscal year 2023 through 2026. Again, I wanted to, share with you that TIP is a committed projects for 4 years, and this is 23, 24, 25, 26, and there are routine amendments, probably 4 every year. And these are reported by staff. I just want to catch, update for the new members for you. Thank you.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Any questions for Peter or for Chad? This is one of our other actionable items, so I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve TIP amendment number 7 is presented.
Fantastic. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Awesome. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the item passes unanimously. Thanks again, Peter. Next, we have the WAMPO Electric Vehicle Network Plan. Dora is going to join us and give us updates. And I've been to a few of these committees. I haven't been able to make it to also excited about the updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Dora Gallo, Transportation Planner here at WAMPO. Just a little joke before I start my presentation. Why was the electric car always so calm? Because it had a positive charge in life. So a little bit of background on the electric vehicle network plan. It outlines the first steps that the region can take to support and encourage the electric vehicle adoption. So it's just comprehensive courses of action that provide the EV charging infrastructure and remove barriers to further EV adoption in the WAMPO region effectively and efficiently. So this plan will start as a starting point for private and public entities to grow familiarity with opportunities and challenges with EV vehicles, charging infrastructure, and adoption. This is also going to support our MTP 2050 plan and then the Charge Up Kansas Navy plan. So during the plan development, there was a diverse stakeholder meetings, and then we partnered with different representatives from Wichita Engineers, Wichita Transit, Sedgwick County, Keachai, Derby, Valley Center, Kansas Department of Transportation, and some environmental specialists. And over the course of what is now like a year, we have completed the plan. So just a little bit of, are you admitting? There are different types of EVs. So there's BEVs, which are battery electric vehicles, and they're fully powered by electricity. They have no internal combustion engine, and they produce zero tailpipe emissions. They're more efficient compared to hybrid and plug-in hybrids. And then we have the hybrid electric vehicle, HEV, which are hybrid electric vehicles that use both the internal combustion engine and the battery-powered motor powertrain. And then the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, the PHEV, which use both an internal combustion engine and a battery charge from an external socket, which they can be plugged into the electricity. So charging infrastructure, we have level 1 charging, level 2, and level 3, and DC-FC charging, which is direct current fast charging. Usually for a level 1 charging, you see them at public places, take that back. They're usually at home. You plug it in and it takes way longer to charge your vehicle. Usually takes a day. People like to charge overnight. And then we see the level 2 charging, best for like workplaces or multifamily homes. And then we have fast charging, which are more at retail places and public places. And you see those, you can charge up your car in 15 to 45 minutes. Some of the barriers to adoption and industry trends are the cost of electric vehicles, the knowledge barriers, just people not knowing about electric vehicles, the range anxiety, people not knowing if they're going to make it to the next charger, infrastructure investment cost, regulatory challenges, land use and zoning issues, charging standardization and grid capacity and upgrades. So during our public engagement phase for the plan, there was 3 steering committee meetings that addressed a variety of topics. The first one, we talked about some funding sources for the charging stations and concerns regarding fire department preparedness for EV fires. Suggestions were made to involve technical experts and utilize existing data on EV usage in Kansas. Then we talked to Charge Up and Evergy, and we just talked about the different charging infrastructure, and then if we had the grid capacity to expand our EV infrastructure. In our last meeting, we talked about demographic analysis, public opinion survey. We went over the public survey, the regional political considerations, safety concerns, and funding mechanisms. And then overall, the committee aims to craft a comprehensive plan tailored to the region's needs, addressing various challenges and opportunities in EV infrastructure implementation. Some of the public outreach, so it was open between June 25th all the way to August 31st. And we had a survey and we did a lot of outreach. We went to tabling events and we had 577 surveys in total. And the survey only had 12 questions. So some of the EV network plan goals is the infrastructure expansion and accessibility, incentives and support, fleet electrification, education and awareness, clean energy integration, and collaboration and partnerships. So the current EV ownership in the WAMPO region, right now, there's about 117 vehicles, registered electric vehicles, 17 electric hybrid vehicles, 499 hybrid vehicles, and 11 electric hybrid plug-in hybrid vehicles in the Butler County. There's 952 electric vehicles, 714 electric hybrid vehicles, 2,942 hybrid vehicles, and 147 electric plug-in hybrid vehicles registered in Sedgwick County. And then in Sumner County, there's 5 electric hybrid vehicles, 10 electric vehicles, and 75 electric vehicles, and 3 electric plug-in hybrid vehicles, which I do not understand the classification that the state kind of classifies them, because some of them have different names. But and then as of October 2023, there were 32 EV charging stations, 8 public level 1 stations, 18 public level 2 stations, and 6 DC level stations serving in the WAMPO region, which as the days go by, we get to see another one pop up. So definitely, if you're interested in that, there's a website, there's apps you can look, and they pop up. There it goes again. There we go. So infrastructure deployment and funding sources. So federal programs like the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement, CMAQ, and then Carbon Reduction Program, CRP, are pivotal in advancing EV infrastructure by offering grants for project aimed at reducing emissions and enhancing transportation efficiency. WAMPO can't apply for the NEVI funding, but they're working on installing chargers all across the state. Additionally, grants like the Climate Reduction and Pollution Grant targets pollution reduction efforts, aligning with the goals of EV infrastructure deployment. and complemented by those state level initiatives and federal support from agencies like Environmental Protection Agency and Department of Energy. This collective funding landscape fosters the expansion of EV charging networks and promotes a sustainable transportation future. Some of the recommended locations that we talked about and we've seen from the surveys were airports, shopping malls, entertainment venues, places people basically spend around more than 30 minutes. We also saw that residential areas, especially multi-family homes, because they don't have the ability to, plug their vehicles in the garage, is a great option as well. We want to also provide those opportunities in lower income communities so the adoption can grow. Right now, the plan is open for public comment until the 11th, and a few comments already are online. If you go to www.wampo.org/electric-vehicles, there's an option at the bottom where you can go through the plan and then comment or see the comments that are in there. We've been sharing it on our social medias, and yeah, I hope we can get some more feedback and definitely make those changes if need be to the plan. Any questions or comments?
Any questions for Dora? Yes, Mayor.
So this is a plan of where to locate these charging stations, and that's pretty much what it is right now, or where are we going with this?
Yeah, right now we're just looking at starting, and then we hope to update it. The EV trend is gonna expand and rapidly do so. So we want to put it out there, let people know that we're working on it, and then once we finalize or we have a better idea, like this is where the money's coming from, where we can invest, where we can make those partnerships, especially those public and private partnerships. And it gives us an idea of where people want chargers or where they're needed. But yes, we're hoping to keep the plan being updated as we get more informed on what's going on, especially here in the Midwest with EV infrastructure. Currently, we don't have any regulations. City of Wichita doesn't have any regulations on EV infrastructure, so that's something that we're hoping some building codes could maybe be put into the process.
So a significant concern is that, from what I understand, there is not any equipment for fire to put out these EV fires. I talked with City County Fire Chief about that because we were talking about capital budgets, and he says it's a nationwide problem. Nobody has an answer to that.
Mhm.
So I'm concerned that we push a program like this out, but we don't have the ability to deal with the fires that come from these vehicles. And to me, that's like almost foolish that we would go that route. I understand the desire to go push along with this program, but I think we need to try to do something to help mitigate the fire risk that we have out there of these particular vehicles.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, like I said, hopefully as technology advances, we can figure out what's the best way, especially to help with, cars catching on fire. But to my knowledge, the infrastructure hasn't caught on fire. It's just the vehicle. But I know there's a lot of places. I think I read something up in like Maryland. They're starting to come up with some technology that can put up fires quicker than just dumping water.
And Mayor, that's a great point. And if you all recall it a couple of years ago now, and we have our interim transit director here, Penny Feist, who could even add if people had questions, but we had a fire with one of our electric buses. It took over 30,000 gallons of water to put the fire out. And we had very little, thank goodness, very little damage to the building and the infrastructure, the bus, obviously, but there have been cities across the nation where the charge goes from bus to bus or vehicle to vehicle, and it will take out their entire fleet. And so I was part of a few conference calls with our fire chief, and then also a company that has this foam that can be put around the batteries so that the fire doesn't spread. And yeah, so you're exactly right. It's a lot more than just thinking about where the stations go, but then how does it impact all the other departments within our municipalities for safety? So great point. Thank you. Lots of thoughtful discussion. I know, Chairman, you've been involved in many of the steering committee meetings or task force meetings for electric vehicles, and some of these discussions have come up. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank Dora and the staff for working on this. They have spent a lot of time and effort on it. Am I sold on electric vehicles? Absolutely not. I just like cars, so I stayed involved in this.
One specific kind of car, right?
I guess I kind of disagree a little bit. Says local commitments to 100% or nearly 100% for both government fleets and private vehicles can galvanize strong policy actions. I don't know if by 2030 that we're going to be there, because I'm not sure that we need to be there. But that's about the only thing that I found in the report that I kind of disagreed with on where we're going. But I know the staff has done a lot of work on this. I appreciate it. I'd like to stay involved in it as we move forward. I do have some reservations.
Yep, valid point.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Dora, I have 3 questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
It says that you had 477 participants in the survey. 577, sorry.
yeah.
My math wasn't mathing. What was the goal? Did you reach your goal? Is the number that you wanted to get?
Honestly, I think it surpassed my goal.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I was super glad to see that many. I'm a little disappointed there was only one in Spanish and one in Vietnamese, but that's okay. And at least we offered the option to have that. The other question I have is that you mentioned a lot of data. You went through a lot of, and it wasn't on the slides and I don't see it in the packet. I'm curious to go back and look at that a little bit more. Where could I find that? Is it on the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All the data should be in the plan as well.
Okay.
A lot of it could be in the infographics.
Fantastic. Awesome. And then you mentioned too that charging stations are popping up all over the region. So who is monitoring that? And then where is that, like a WAMPO responsibility, or how do we keep our plans up to date to know there's a new charging station at, Town East, or there's one in Is anybody monitoring that, or is it just not really coordinated at this point?
Not that I know of. I think last time I talked to Tammy Alexander with KDOT, she said that sometimes even just EV users, like if you drive a EV, you can, hey, if you see a charger somewhere, you can put a pin.
Pin it.
Yeah. So it kind of just depends. I know when I was trying to update the EV infrastructure, it was kind of difficult because sometimes you don't know if it's a level 1 or level 2 charger or a DC charger. So it gets a little complicated, but some of the, like Tesla's pretty easy. They're pretty up to date with their chargers, but everyone else, it kind of just depends.
And again, to follow up with Mayor, I think that someday would be super a goal. So that way even our fire departments know when they're going, if there was a charging station fire, if it's a level 1, 2, or 3, because that's going to determine different types of equipment that they need to have and, all the things.
Certainly.
So, okay, great. And yes, please.
I just have one question. We have one of these charging stations in our park, and it was developed a number of years back, and it's not metered. So, right now it's free power that people can come and get a hold of. Have you had discussions with the electric companies about, are a lot of these metered that are pay for use type?
It kind of just depends whether if, let's say, for example, the mall has, I think 5 chargers, and they're metered, but it kind of depends on how they want to go about it. If they want to attract more people and get that service, some may make it free, some might charge. It just depends on, honestly, the one installing it.
Is it the electric company that's the one that's agreeing to go ahead and meter those and do the pay for use pieces? Is that going to take the agreement of those to start going this direction?
I think it's more of an agreement between the electric companies and the company or the one installing the EV infrastructure. Yeah, I know Evergy does incentivize if you're gonna install a charger, but it's not free.
Any other questions for Dora?
Madam Chair, this is Allison Smith with KDOT. I just wanted to let you know that if you go to the website, Alt Fuel Data Center, you can pull up maps and also download Excel spreadsheets that tell you all the locations of charging stations throughout whichever region you're interested in, whichever state, and it gives a very comprehensive look at that. We do kind of keep track of ones we know of here at KDOT for our purposes. But that website is very useful in letting you know where you can find stuff. And we will be doing a round 2 call for proposals for NEVI. And one of those priority locations is in the Augusta Andover area, so that you will see that coming out probably later on this week, early next week. So that is headed your region's direction.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We appreciate the update.
Sure.
Any other questions for Dory or comments for the good of the order? All right, EVs, they're here, right?
They are.
Thank you for all
Thank
your
you.
hard work, and thank you for everyone involved in the task force. Next, last discussion update item before we head into committee partner updates is the Regional Transit Implementation Plan. And we have Bill with us from SRF. Thank you, Bill, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Welcome to WAMPO.
Thank you. Do I just scooch to the next one? Oh, okay. I just go to the next slide. Hey, cool. Step 1. Good afternoon. My name is Bill Tro, and I'm a transportation planner with SRF Consulting. And what I wanted to do is give you a little bit of an update as to where we're at on the Regional Transit Implementation Plan. As I said, talk a little bit about the status, talk a little bit more about the detail of alternatives, and then also provide some highlights on the timing of the next public meeting that I think will be important for everybody in the group, because we are going to rely more on this round of the public meetings of asking you folks to help us get some of the word out, because each of you has a network, and each of you has maybe different priorities for your communities or your jurisdictions. So we want to make sure that we're getting all of the alternatives that we need to from a service standpoint. From a status that we are in the process now of looking at alternatives that support the needs and the gaps that are identified within the WAMPO region. In that, as we're going through that, we're looking at different service options that I'll get into here in a little bit. And also, as we're looking at those options, we're also trying to get an understanding of, well, who might be the provider. Could the provider be Wichita Transit with more service extensions that are funded through a combination of the federal government, state government, and the locality that is getting the new service? Or could it be expanding the Wichita or not the Wichita Transit, but Sedgwick County transportation service that could be funded through additional tax dollars that go into that service? Or could it be more of a self-funded program that most van pool programs that you look at around the country, they're essentially self-funded through the dollars that are provided through each of the participants. Now, there are some, like I live in Omaha, and Nebraska has a program where the Department of Transportation puts in about $500 now a month into each of those van pools, and each of them probably costs about $1,700 a month. So they fund, somewhere just short of a third of the cost, with the participants funding the rest. And that has been on and off successful program. The pandemic did kind of put a big hiccup into that overall program. So there are, as we're going through and looking at the various alternatives, we need to understand that combination of, well, what might be the demand, who might be the operator, how much might it cost, and who's going to pay for it. Okay. as we're looking at the concepts, that we want to make sure that the concepts support the needs. So we have looked at needs from a number of different perspectives through the stakeholder meeting that we had earlier on in the process, through piggybacking with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan outreach to individual locations and different events that they went out to. A big part of it is the analysis of current service, plus looking at the idea of latent demand throughout the region. So we have done estimates of, okay, how much service is being used from this particular community relative to what we would expect of a community of that size, a community of that general location, and the type of service that's provided out there today, where, through the vast majority of the geographic coverage of the WAMPO region, we have demand response service, which is essentially, I call up the day before to a transit provider, whether or not it might be Derby Dash, it might be Hayesville Hustle, it might be Sedgwick County. And I tell them where I need to go from and to, about what time, and they put you on the schedule to get picked up, and then kind of work together with other trips that need to be made. And so that we've been able to estimate whether or not there's no latent demand in a particular area, a little bit or quite a bit of latent demand. And then as we're also looking, we want to make sure that we're looking at what those opportunities are. And opportunities to us really come back to three things. It comes back to development density, travel flows that we're seeing today or into the future, and proximity. That with transit, the idea of a 60-mile trip a day is not a very convenient trip on transit. So there is a reduction as our convenience factor drops. There is a reduction in ridership. So those are the elements that we're looking at when we're looking at development density. What we're showing here is population density. That is one of the keys that we look at. And here you can see that our focus area for understanding new service needs is primarily outside of Wichita, so that in this one, we have kind of not included any coloring in Wichita, but there is technically color in the other areas, but the densities there are, from a population standpoint, are pretty low as we look at it from the world of transit. That if you're at one dwelling unit or one person per acre, it's really not the environment that's going to be conducive to providing successful transit service within the area. That generally we are looking at that greater than 4 people per acre, even when we're thinking about demand response service. That is a less costly, can be a less costly service. We are also looking at and have looked at employment density. You can see here is that outside of Wichita, there are some locations where there is a higher and to a certain extent, a very high employment density. So those to us become opportunities. And finally, when we look at a combination of those two things, this is essentially our transit supportive areas, or those locations where we see opportunity for transit service within the WAMPO area, particularly outside of Wichita. And so this is one of those things that we are looking at relative to defining service. And as we're looking at those service concepts, that the way I like to look at it, because it makes it easier to organize things, is develop themes. So we've developed essentially 3 themes that will help us organize each of the alternatives that we're looking at. Our first theme is developing opportunities to get to and from work in Wichita. So that would be looking at the entire WAMPO area, but understanding that Wichita is just the employment center, or a great employment center within the region. So one of our themes is making sure that we're looking at getting those opportunities from the exurban suburban communities into those opportunities in Wichita. Our second theme is creating more opportunities for regional travel. And this is essentially areas outside of Wichita, understanding where there may be travel for medical trips, there may be travel for shopping trips, there may be travel for work trips that don't necessarily need to get into Wichita. And then our final theme is supporting or developing and looking at services that support growth and expansion of suburban and exurban employment opportunities. While, we're not showing tremendous pockets of very high employment outside of Wichita, hey, there are still opportunities. We just need to make sure that we're looking at right sizing the transit alternatives that we are looking at for those particular areas. So that at the last meeting, I started talking about the opportunity or these concepts in very large and very kind of gross terms. And those are the ones that I'm showing here. It's the same table that I came to you with last month. But now what we are doing is getting into more detail, and we're developing individual alternatives that are associated with each of those themes. And the list here is that next level down list of concepts, and it's in the packet that I handed out. That next level of detail in the various services, so that for each of the themes or the alternatives that we are developing here, that we're creating a description, we're creating some estimates of cost, estimates of ridership, those things for each of these alternatives. And I've got an example, and that we're also then making sure that as we're going through these, that we are attaching them to a particular theme, so that as we're talking with a greater number of individuals about ideas, that we're also looking at those ideas that can cover multiple themes. Those are kind of those that become our golden ticket for opportunities for transit service into the future. I have developed kind of an example of what we're doing using that first theme, or the first alternative of developing Wichita Transit express routes connecting to different exurban communities. And I only got a summary here, and all I did was say list communities. But when you can see the map down here, these are the communities where we're seeing at least some opportunity to consider looking at express service that would essentially be supporting the commuter travel. So there would be a couple of runs in the morning, a couple of runs in the afternoon to support commuters that are either coming into Wichita or leaving Wichita. All of these then would have connection into the downtown transit center. So then you can get yourself interjected into the remainder of the Wichita transit service area. Because I mean, how many actual employment opportunities do we find along the ribbon of each of those alternatives until you get downtown? So there, downtown is still is an employment center, but it probably is an employment center for 20% of the employment within the entire region, if that. So that we want to make sure people have opportunities to get everywhere else in Wichita, or in one of the other suburban communities, so that we want to be back to the transit center. So for each of the alternatives, we've developed a list of assumptions, we've developed a description, and in those assumptions, we've documented both how we're going through and estimating demand. Say in this example here, where we're looking at commuter service, that WAMPO each year or periodically goes through and estimates commuter flow. So there we're using that data to give us kind of that universe of potential flow coming from a particular area. And then taking a portion of that, understanding that, while we would love transit service to be carrying 10, 15, 20% of the ridership, we're in the Midwest, and in the Midwest, we're really looking at 1%, and in a great world, 2% of the entire travel, the trip shed or the travel shed to be using transit, which becomes a little bit disheartening. But again, we are in the Midwest, and there are a lot of those things that when you're on the West Coast, or when you're on the East Coast, with high levels of congestion when you get into the downtown, high parking costs when you get into downtown, those don't exist very well in the Midwest, and all of those things, don't result in a whole lot of transit demand. And we developed some descriptions again of what those services might be. And that for each, you have to look at this one in your packet, sorry. But then for each of those alternatives, what we have developed, what I'm calling, or are developing, what I call is our one pager. And it essentially contains a summary of that particular alternative, including the description. If a map helps with the description, as it does in this case, we've included a map. We've got a list of all of those key assumptions, and then also the review of the evaluation of that particular alternative relative to our key evaluation criteria that are its particular support relative to a theme, the ridership potential that particular alternative has, what the cost might be. And we've also identified, well, what might be an implementation period. Some of these are situations where it may be relatively convenient, relatively easy to implement. Others may take quite a bit of change in how service is provided, and particularly here with express service. Well, you might think, well, geez, that's just putting a couple of more buses on the street, those kinds of things. But it is very complex in that, when you're going outside the city limits of Wichita, is that a situation where you're going to ask the residents of the city of Wichita to pay for that, and it just becomes another cost for Wichita Transit? Or is it a situation where you're looking for cost sharing for those suburban communities, those suburban areas that are also gaining a benefit from the alternative? And I think we all understand when we get into those multi-jurisdictional conversations about money, they don't necessarily go real fast. So that we've also identified the implementation period, and we have an element in there of support. And support means as we present these and as we discuss these, is there a whole lot of, yeah, that is a good idea, I think we should continue to look at that? Or is there a whole lot of, okay, it's an idea, but it's not necessarily one that we can support? So that we want to make sure that we're not just coming in with a bunch of numbers and those kinds of things, that we are having conversations about the alternatives. And this is one of those areas also where we want to make sure that you folks all have the opportunity to review each of the alternatives. And that is the role of, again, what I'm calling is the one pager, giving each of you a little bit of information to help us then fill in that level of support. So that will be one of the things that we are going to be asking you to do as we go along. And my expectation is that, I'm sorry that we're going to be looking at it as potential homework for you folks, unless you want to be spending a couple of hours in one of these meetings going through each of the alternatives, and I'm not going to ask you to do that. Okay. We have set a tentative date for our next public meeting, which is going to be May 30th. Understanding that there were a number of comments that maybe we could have used a little bit more notice of the last public meeting, that we have developed a more work or drawn out and defined program for getting the information out. We have at the meetings that we thought the venues that we had and the formats that we used last time were okay. So we're not, unless we hear comments from folks, that we're not anticipating that our venues of Goddard in the morning or the late morning, an afternoon remote, and a later in the afternoon, early in the evening in Bel Air, as potential locations for that. And we'll continue to work with WAMPO staff and also look to make sure the venues are available for those locations. But as we get in, again, that we're talking about a public meeting at the end of May, so that a week out, let's go 3 weeks out, we would have our information out and send it to you folks, and asking you to put it on social media, asking your city clerks or your IT folks to get it on social media, and any other, and onto your website. A week after that, we would send out a reminder, please get this distributed. We would also be distributing it to all the stakeholders we have. We would distribute the information to those folks that came to the first round of the public meetings and actually gave us either a phone number or an email address. And then again, a week before, we would send out a second reminder along with a press release providing some information about the public meeting. The focus of this public meeting will be the alternatives, but we can also use it as kind of a pickup of, hey, did we not get enough distribution on the first public meeting to get an understanding of the needs? Because then we can also use the alternatives to kind of make sure that people understand we are covering the needs that they may have, or if they have needs that we have not understood, that we can also see if there are some of the alternatives that could be modified. Or I'm going to be fairly confident that the range of alternatives that we come up with is pretty much going to cover, I mean, it's going to cover any need that I can think of. Okay. I think that's it. Are there questions, comments?
Any questions for Bill? I will just make a quick comment. I've been on Wichita City Council for 5 years, and there's not been 1 week that has gone by that somebody has not said we need more transit in Wichita. And to which I always say, tell me why, and what does that mean? And so it's just good to have a more formalized plan and something that we can look to. We can say, you know, input was provided by community members, but we hear all the time, and I'm sure my colleagues would echo this, and probably other municipalities too. We need more transit, we need more transit, but we don't ever really know for sure if we do or if it's just anecdotal. So thank you for your work on this.
And I'm going to channel my younger brother, who sent a note that he had a meeting with the folks at his church and they needed a new roof. And he said, we have plenty of money for a new roof. We have plenty of money for transit in the region. It's just that you're sitting on it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Probably didn't get a laugh either. So.
Any other questions or comments for Bill? Thank you for your work on this. Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you for staff.
I'd like just to make a quick.
Please.
I appreciate you coming back, the notice, giving us time to get out within the community to try to see what needs maybe we haven't uncovered yet. So I appreciate that schedule, and we'll probably make some effort to reach out to some of our larger employers and see if we can generate some more activity and get some more interest.
And we have been talking with WAMPO staff about that. And you know, that it's my opinion, and I don't think I talked him into anything, is that it's going to be a lot more useful and productive for you folks to reach out to those larger employers, rather than, you know, if we're looking at 20 different communities and all of the employers in those communities are trying to chase them down, that's going to take us a long time. So I guess I probably should have asked that back in there, is that please reach out to your constituencies, that we'll give you, you know, a packet that you can take to your city council meeting and announce the meeting, so that, you know, whatever opportunities that we have between now and May 30th to announce the meeting, that please do it.
Anyone else?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today. Next, we have committee and partnership updates. Executive committee, the next WAMPO executive committee is Thursday, May 2nd, 2024 from 11 to 12. It is open to everyone. So anyone who wants to join us, you sure can. All are welcome. It's an open meeting. It's in the MAPC conference room that's also located on this floor. Just go through MAPC. Next with KDOT, I didn't see Mike. JB, are you going to do both reports? Excellent. Yes. Just tell us all you know. Thank you for being here today.
So I'm sure you guys all saw the southbound I-135 to westbound US 54 has been closed yesterday. This is phase one of a 4-phase bridge closure. The first one, like I said, is southbound I-135 to westbound US 54. That will be closed from April to about mid-May. The second one is northbound I-135 to westbound US 54. That will be closed from will run right after that first one. It will go from May to June, about late June. The third phase is eastbound US 54 to northbound I-135. That will go from late June to early September. And the last one will be westbound US 54 to southbound I-135, and that will go from early September to early November.
Thank you. Any other updates or any questions? Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, JB. I didn't see any, and I know Rick's not on from Federal Highway. Anyone else joining us from Federal Highway we missed? Okay, seeing none, we are completed with committee and partnership updates. Any other business for the good of the group? Announcements, anything anybody would like to share? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say bye. See you in May. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for your servant leadership.